Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and I've been doing a daily countdown ranking my 366 favorite video games of all time. Today is Sunday, September 1st, and my 122nd favorite game is Pokemon X and Y, but this isn't technically that video. That one's linked in the description. Oh, also, hey, my Patreon went live today. You can check it out in the description as well, along with a video explaining it. As I've done with each mainline Pokemon game I've covered so far, I'm making this companion video to rank just the new Pokemon within that game. Generation 6 has the fewest new Pokemon out of all of them, but it makes up for it a bit with Mega Evolutions. I am including Mega Evolutions in this video, but I want to explain a little bit before we start. I haven't been ranking gimmick versions of Pokemon from other titles like Gigantamax and Sword and Shield, but Mega Evolutions have showed up in multiple generations, so I'm counting them as new Pokemon. I generally tried my best to rank these Megas in a vacuum, meaning my opinion of the regular version of the Pokemon has a minimal impact on how I view the Mega. Some of that still seeps through though, but a lot of what I'm looking at with Megas is the change in design and whether or not it feels like good additions to the games. Generally, if the Mega doesn't offer some jaw-dropping extension of their evolutionary line, I'm not going to think it's that great. With that taken care of, let's jump in. In last place is the 99th best Pokemon in Generation 6. It's Scatterbug. I don't like bugs. If you've watched the other rankings so far, you know that. This is definitely a buggy, crawly bug doing bug stuff. Number 98 is Spritzee. I generally like cute little Pokemon, and I also do like Fairy as a type. To hear my expanded thoughts on Fairy Pokemon, watch the actual game ranking video. But something about Spritzee is just off-putting to me. I think it reminds me of a Furby, and those toys might be actual, factual demons from hell. Number 97 is Bunnelby. Pokemon should be fantasy monsters. This is a bunny, but also not that cute of a bunny. Number 96 is Mega Aggron. Aggron itself is, I think, pretty okay. It's kind of mid, it's meh, it's fine. Mega Aggron offers almost no change from regular Aggron, making it a pretty terrible Mega Evolution, making it a waste of my time. Number 95 is Mega Abomasnow. I'll admit, Mega Abomasnow does offer some more interesting changes to the Pokemon, but it kind of goes in the opposite direction, where it doesn't really feel like Abomasnow at all anymore. Now it's a quadruped, and with all of the stuff sticking out of it, I have a hard time actually understanding everything I'm looking at. I think it suffers from just overall poor design, unfortunately. Number 94 is Clauncher. Bunnelby is just a bunny. Clauncher is just a crustacean of some kind, but with a singular giant pincer. It's goofy looking, so that's fun, but it doesn't do much for me beyond being goofy. Number 93 is Diggersby. It accentuates the one kind of interesting thing about Bunnelby, being its big ears, turning them into giant fists. A rabbit punching you with its ears is pretty funny, but I still don't really like its face, and the color palette gives it a neck beard, which combined with the violent punch ears isn't a great look. Number 92 is Quilladin. We've got the evolution of a starter Pokemon way down at the bottom. It looks like it's wearing a suit, and the face is a little too humanoid for me. More round is usually more good, but this reminds me a little of the original Sonic film design, which was obviously terrible. Chespin is a little better than Quilladin, now looking more like a Pokemon with a hat instead of in a suit, and it's less human looking. That's not inherently bad, but the hat is the only identifiably grass type thing going for it, making it look not actually that much like a grass type, which is a problem for a starter Pokemon. Overall, I'm kind of neutral on Chespin. Number 90 is Chesnaught. This whole evolution line is down here, unfortunately. Chesnaught's still kid-like face is a little unnerving on the giant body it has, but its armor plating is actually kind of cool. It probably would have ranked a few spots higher if I liked the other parts of its evolution line more. Number 89 is Mega Tyranitar. I mentioned that I'm trying to not let my opinion for the regular version of Megas influence things too much. As you'll eventually find out, I quite like Tyranitar, but the design of Mega Tyranitar is a huge step backwards. What are those giant tendrils doing? It's cool that there's a full face on its chest now, but the silhouette on this thing is just awful. Number 88 is Spupa. Still don't like bugs, but this one's actually kinda cute. Scatterbug definitely gets better from evolving. Number 87 is Vivillon. Again, bugs. The body of Vivillon makes me squirm a bit, but the wings are pretty enough that I can forgive that some. Number 86 is Binacle. Bi is in 2. Knackle is in Barnacles. The two heads argue and fight all the time over their living situations, and I think they're just very funny. Number 85 is Barbaracle. It appears evolution lines being paired with each other is a thing in this game's rankings. Barbaracle is a masterclass on organizational management, adding 5 more barnacle limbs and a properly thinking head to guide them all, though they do technically move and act independently. Awesome design thematically, kinda creepy design aesthetically, and not in the cool way. Number 84 is Fletchling. Hey, look, everyone, it's the obligatory, that's just a bird. It's a bird. Number 83 is Mega Heracross. I actually quite like how Mega Heracross exaggerated the regular version's key features, developing into a giant spike on top of its head and some other sharper, pointier bits. I wish the arms didn't look so dumb though, so it's down here. Number 82 is Skrelp. It's based on a sea dragon, but does not have the dragon typing, which is pretty disappointing. It's definitely unique looking, so I give them credit for that, but it's also not, like, that exciting to me. Number 81 is Mega Mewtwo X, and number 80 is Mega Mewtwo Y. Okay, I can already hear the gasps, so let me be clear about how Megas are impacting my rankings. Mewtwo is awesome. When I get to covering Gen 1, the ranking video for that will see Mewtwo do very well. But not only do I think the Megas for Mewtwo actively make the Pokemon look worse, they're also not actually that different in design. X is definitely the worst of the two in that regard, so Y gets the slight bump over it, but it doesn't change the fact that I view these Mega Evolutions as strict downgrades from regular Mewtwo. Number 79 is Carbink. Rock Fairy is an interesting typing, shoring up the poison weakness of Fairy and giving same type attack bonus super effective attacks against fire, which is normally resistant to Fairy. But wow, do not let it get hit by steel attacks. Design-wise, I just like that it's a floating chunk of rock with some crystals in a face, kinda like how Roly-Coly from Sword and Shield is just a piece of coal. Number 78 is Sliggoo. You'll find out through the rest of the year that I think snail Pokemon are pretty neat. It's not an animal that typically gets a lot of love, and I actually think they're pretty cute. I wish it had a more defined shell, but Sliggoo's sort of goopy body makes it stand out amongst the other snail Pokemon to stop them from all feeling samey, which is nice. Also, it's a dragon, which is a pleasant surprise. Dragon snail. That's kinda cool. Number 77 is Braixen, the middle evolution for the fire starter of this generation. The fox design is kind of meh, to be honest. I love foxes, but I think there's much better fox designs in Pokemon. The thing that puts Braixen above some other stuff I've mentioned is its wooden stick it carries around. This Pokemon is a pyromaniac and maybe, just maybe, an arsonist, and that's kinda metal. Number 76 is Goodra. Sliggoo evolves and goes from 1 foot of a snail to now, 2 feet. I wouldn't really call it a snail anymore though, but it keeps all of its goopy appearances. I really can't place it, but I think Goodra is just very cute, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure if it was real, I would be terrified of it. Number 75 is Fennekin. The Firestarter's basic form is much closer to an actual Fennec fox, but keeping the defining overly bushy tail the line has. It's not an arsonist yet, but it's definitely a bit mischievous, and I like that, all while being very cute. Number 74 is Florges. It's a big, sentient flower, and is one of the cooler evolution lines of Pokemon that are a flower. That being said, it's weird that the flower is trying to be, like, sexy? I would have ranked this higher if it didn't give the impression that it thinks a little too highly of itself. Number 73 is Mega Gardevoir. Similarly to Mewtwo, you're going to discover that I think pretty highly of Gardevoir. But also similarly to Mewtwo, I think the Mega evolution is really samey to the regular and generally just worse looking. It gets ranked above the Mewtwo evolutions though for two reasons. First, the idea of expanding the dress at least feels like a natural continuation of the design. Second, shiny Mega Gardevoir is awesome, turning the normally white dress appearance of the Pokemon to a great looking black. Number 72 is Helioptile? Whatever. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's cute, it's a scamp, and it scampers around. It does everything a small electric lizard should do, and it doesn't need to do anything more. Number 71 is Heliolisk. Most of what I said for Helioptile applies to its evolution, except now I feel like it has a sense of humor. I can't explain that, so I won't. Number 70 is Delphox, the final evolution of Fennekin. We are now firmly embracing Arsene, gaining the Psychic type, turning into a Fire Wizard, but as a Pokemon. In concept, this should rank significantly higher for me, but I still feel like we're trying too hard to keep to a Fox idea, while also being very much not Fox-like, making it a bit jarring. Number 69 is Malamar. Bulbapedia tells me this is a squid. I can kind of see it, but I would never have come to that conclusion on my own. This Pokemon feels very abstract, and it's getting ranked purely on being abstractly cool. Number 68 is Flabebe. This is the basic form of Florges and is really just a Pokemon as a flower. It might be the most Pokemon as a flower they've ever made. I think they're pretty cute and really set the tone for what fairy Pokemon are supposed to be. It's a good thing they don't exist in real life because I would accidentally kill so many of them and feel bad about it. Number 67 is Aromatisse, the evolved form of Spritzee. I actually almost really like this Pokemon. It should be ranked much higher. It's fuzzy, it's a little goofy, and it's sassy. But why? Why does it insist on showing this much thigh? That's weird. Stop. Number 66 is Dragalge, the evolved form of Skrelp, fully embracing the sea dragon appearance. Dragalge gains the dragon type it deserves and turns into one of the more unique aquatic Pokemon in design. I could easily see this being some people's favorite Pokemon, and while I think it's fairly cool looking, it's also not like that cool looking and is instead just a thing I'm glad exists as an expansion of the world. Number 65 is Pancham. It's a sassy little panda cub with a leaf sticking out of its mouth, and it will absolutely fight you. It's cute, it's overflowing with sass, and that's all there is to it. Number 64 and 63 are Mega Latias and Mega Latios. They're literally tied because they're pretty much indistinguishably the same Pokemon. The regular versions are very clearly different, but the difference is gone now, and they're both jet planes. Granted, being jet planes is cool, and they'd be ranked much higher if they even just kept their color palette differences. Instead, they're kind of lame. Number 62 is Clawitzer. Clauncher is cute and kind of cool with its singular large arm, but Clawitzer is an absolute unit and ready to mess you up. They took the concept of what if a shrimp or something just had one really big arm and managed to actually make it intimidating instead of dumb. Number 61 is Noibat. I actually really like real-life bats. I've always thought they're really cute, and most bat Pokemon had always, I felt, tried to be kind of edgy and brooding and not that cute. That is, until Noibat came along. It's finally the cute bat I always wanted. Number 60 is Goomy. Sliggoo and Goodra had a lot of nice things about them, but Goomy is just the goop part, and it's absolutely adorable. Just goop with a mouth. That's great. Number 59 is Skiddo. It's a grass goat, but like a baby one, because baby goats are called kids. Have you ever gone to a petting zoo and seen a baby goat? They're great. They'll eat your hands, but they're great. Number 58 is Mega Scizor. It's pretty cool, and while I do think it toes the line a little close to just being regular Scizor, but slightly different to make it look like it didn't copy the homework, Mega Scizor does exaggerate the features pretty well, and I like that its pincers now kind of look like chip clips a little. Number 57 is Talonflame. Fletchling is just a bird, but Talonflame gets to be cool. Now it's a hawk, which is still just a bird, but a cool bird. And it occasionally spits fire. Definitely not a dragon though, just a bird. Number 56 is Furfrou. Dogs are great. I love dogs. Typically a Pokemon that's just a dog, as opposed to a dog with additional elements like Yamper's Heartbutt, is not as exciting to me as most Pokemon though, just because they should be fantasy and all of that. But Furfrou does something very cool in the context of Pokemon. You can take it to a groomer and customize your dog. There's a lot of appearances for Furfrou and they get pretty cool. It takes a lot for me to rank a pure normal Pokemon highly though, so mid-50s is where Furfrou lives. Number 55 is Amaura. It is a tiny little ice dinosaur. I'll say that again. It's a tiny little ice dinosaur. Say that as many times as you need to yourself until it sets in that Amaura is very cute and pretty cool. Number 54 is Litleo. I like a lot of cute Pokemon. Even if the Pokemon doesn't do anything interesting, I'll at least like it if it's cute. Here's a fire lion cub that has a permanent dumb expression on its face. Sign me up. Number 53 is Hawlucha. It's a hawk. It's a luchador. It's a hawk luchador. Follow the instructions from Amaura as many times as you need to. Number 52 is Inkay. Malamar may be hard to distinguish as a squid, but Inkay's pretty easy. It's also cute. I mentioned I like cute, and the squid part looks like it's wearing a hat, so that's awesome. Number 51 is Pyroar. Litleo stopped being cute and dumb and started being cool. The way the main clearly shouts, "This is a fire Pokemon," is a nice touch. Number 50 is Meowstic. Psychic Cat. Again, repeat the Amaura and Hawlucha instructions. Psychic Cat. Also, it clearly knows it's better than you, thus enhancing both the psychic part and the cat part of Psychic Cat. Number 49 is Mega Aerodactyl. I think this Pokemon looks like someone had the idea that Aerodactyl doesn't look enough like the rock Pokemon that it is, so they started adding some rocks to it, and then a few more, and then they just couldn't stop, and someone had to take the pen away from them before they kept adding more rocks. We should get more Pokemon like that. Number 48 is Esper. So this evolves into Meowstic and is still a psychic cat. All of that still applies, but the thing that puts it slightly above it is that it looks extremely lost and has no idea where it is or what it's doing at all times. The disheveled hair also kind of reminds me of the History Channel Aliens guy. Number 47 is Floetti. This is the middle evolution between Flabebe and Florges, and gets kind of the best of both. It is no longer just a flower, it is now a proper Pokemon, but it's also not, like, weird about it. Plus, in the story of X and Y, one of them, and only one of them, are immortal. So that makes for something interesting. It's like a mythical or legendary Pokemon, but it's also just a Pokemon. Number 46 is Swirlix. I love food Pokemon. I love them a lot. This is a sentient puffball of cotton candy. That's literally what it is. Have you ever seen that video of the raccoon that was given cotton candy at a zoo? Do you know what raccoons instinctively do with all of their food, if able? They wash it. That cute little guy had no idea what was coming, and all Swirlix must be protected at all costs. Number 45 is Tyrant. You know how Tyrannosaurus Rex have big heads and little arms? Well, what if their heads were even bigger, their arms were even smaller, and their torsos were basically just more legs? That's Tyrant. Number 44 is Bergmite. Every once in a while, a Pokemon is made, and you hear the pitch for it, and it's just so dumb. And every once in a while, it's so dumb, it becomes good again. Bergmite is literally a block of ice. Nothing more, nothing less. Pokemon would suck if they were all this dumb, but the whole franchise is elevated when some are this dumb. Number 43 is Slurpuff. The cotton candy has evolved into meringue, and while I think Swirlix is generally a bit cuter, I'm no longer worried about taking Slurpuff into the rain, and the fact that its tongue is just always out like that makes it a little better. Number 42 is Mega Blaziken. Now we're really starting to get into Megas that exaggerate the features of the Pokemon they evolved from and add something new to it to make a real evolution. The color palette change, the flame fighting bands, the upright hair, it's like Blaziken went Super Saiyan, and that's what Mega Pokemon should look like. Number 41 is Gogoat. That's a mountain goat with a bush for part of its body. The big difference it has from Skiddo that puts it higher is that you can ride a Gogoat. It's a goat that goes. It sells itself. Number 40 is Pangoro. As cute as Pancham is, it evolves into something pretty cool. Pangoro is a giant panda that's no longer sassy and is instead just going to kick your ass. It kept the leaf it was chewing on though, and that's a pretty important distinction. Number 39 is Gourgeist. Overall, Ghost is it is my favorite type. I love food Pokemon, I love ghost Pokemon that are just kind of objects but ghosts. This is a Gourd. It's a Geist. They were really on it with the names this generation. Number 38 is Dedenne. Generation 6's generic, definitely not Pikachu Pokemon. I actually really like Dedenne. It's tiny, but it's fat. A lot of its features are cartoonishly exaggerated, and I love the way it anxiously grabs at its tail. Number 37 is Mega Manectric. On the topic of Megas looking like the Pokemon went Super Saiyan, Manectric is an electric type and decided that to best embody that, it should just become a lightning bolt. If this were something in real life, it'd be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, but in fantasy, it's a pretty great design. Number 36 is Froakie. It's cute. It's a frog. It's a starter. Did I mention it's a cute frog? Amara rules apply. Number 35 is Frogadier. A lot of evolutions are packed together this video. Frogadier is still kinda cute and is definitely still a frog, but the way it has that scarf looking bit is pretty awesome. To make Naruto comparisons, Froakie looks like Konohamaru and Frogadier looks like Naruto a little to me. It's a stretch, but you can see how it almost ages up through the evolution line, and I like when they do that. Number 34 is Honedge. Hey, remember how I like ghost Pokemon that are objects? Well, this ghost Pokemon is a sword, and it has a hand and a face. Literally yesterday, I talked about how I played the character with a sword with facial features because of how cool I thought that was. Number 33 is Zygarde. I have absolutely no idea what is going on with Zygarde's design, but it's fractal and I like it. The fact that it's made up of a bunch of little cells is also very cool, though a bit tedious. Number 32 is Avalugg. Remember how Bergmite's just a block of ice and how it's great that it's so dumb? Well, Avalugg is a bigger block of ice, and that's somehow hilarious to me. Number 31 is Noivern. Well, we got the cute bat out of the way, so now we can go back to cool and edgy bats that are also dragons and use tons of sound-based attacks with their subwoofer ears. Noivern's cool. Number 30 is Phantump. Cute little ghosty guy that's just a tiny little piece of wood with a wispy body. This Pokemon could do literally nothing and I would still like it. Number 29 is Aurorus. Amara may be a cute little ice dinosaur, but Aurorus is beautiful. It's a full-sized ice dinosaur with frills that evoke the Aurora Borealis. It's such a great design, I can't believe we didn't get an ice Pokemon based on the Arctic Circle in Gen 1. In hindsight, that concept almost seems obvious, but here we are, and now we got it as a dinosaur. Ready for a big Mega Block? Number 28 is Mega Blastoise. On the concept of dumb Pokemon, Blastoise is not dumb, but the idea of going, what if it just got a bigger cannon, is kind of dumb, but in all the best fun ways. Number 27 is Mega Pinsir. They took a bug Pokemon that's like, well, yeah, it's a beetle, I guess, and made it really a bug Pokemon. I don't like bugs, but this bug is hardcore. Number 26 is Mega Charizard Y. It's actually one of the worst offenders for not looking that different from its regular form, but I give it a pass for 2 reasons. First, it's Charizard. Second, it actually is a way better looking Charizard. Like, this feels like it's what Charizard should always look like, mostly because Charizard should look like a dragon, and by that I also mean Charizard should be a dragon. It's a flying, fire-breathing lizard. Let it be a dragon. Number 25 is Mega Medicham. Is a spoiler for when I rank Ruby and Sapphire later, I so do not care about Medicham. But Mega Medicham puts in a ton of work and actually makes a Pokemon that I think looks boring and dumb, something that looks really cool. So good job, Mega Medicham. Number 24 is Mega Garchomp. They took a feature of Garchomp I would normally ignore and even forget is there, the little spikes on its arms and legs, and turned it into the defining characteristic of the Mega Evolution, making it look like its abdomen is a giant mouth, ready to eat you. It's terrifying. It's awesome. It's a Mega Evolution that really looks like a continuation of the Pokemon and not some slapped-on gimmick. Number 23 is Mega Venusaur. The idea of growing the tree on the Venusaur is something I've always thought should be happening as they get older. Like, it's a plant Pokemon that really does go through photosynthesis and gain nutrients and such that way. It's in the world, they talk about it. The plants on it should grow. So I've always been happy that they did that for the Mega Evolution. Number 22 is a break from our Mega streak in Klefki. This is, I'm sure, a controversial pick. It's literally just a keyring that's alive. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a lot of people's pick for worst Pokemon of this generation, and maybe one of the worst Pokemon ever made. That being said, while not a ghost Pokemon, I still like Pokemon that are just like random things within the world, and this one's no exception. Plus, I think it's kinda cute. Number 21 is back on the Mega train with Mega Gyarados. I can't even explain why I like this. It's just huge. And every time I see it, I kind of laugh at it. Like, holy shit, Gyarados, stop skipping leg day. Grow the bottom half of your body at least a little. Number 20 is Mega Houndoom. As you'll find out when I get to Gen 2, I think Houndoom is pretty great, but they Mega evolved it by putting a giant skull with tusks on its chest. Like, that is a Mega Houndoom. If you showed me a Houndoom like that and I didn't know what Mega Evolutions were, I'd probably still call it a Mega Houndoom. Number 19 is Diancie. The diamonds, or whatever it is, in the rough have emerged from Carbank, becoming a fully not random object Pokemon, and is now just awesome looking. This is a rock fairy, and that sounds like drugs, but it's actually just Diancie. Plus, while I'm not technically ranking the Mega Evolution for it, because that didn't get added until Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the Mega Evolution is even better. Number 18 is Doublade? Honedge is great because it's a living sword with a hand. Now there's 2, and that's like it. It gets the Dugtrio effect, but for swords, which is way cooler than, what rating is my channel supposed to be? Number 17 is Xerneas, the cover Pokemon for X. It's basically a very pretty stag, and actually, that's apparently all it has to do to get this ranking. I put it here literally just because it's pretty, and I get to go, oh wow, that Pokemon's really pretty. Number 16 is Mega Gengar. I'm honestly not sure if those are hands, and I don't really want to find out. Gengar is pretty awesome, and getting a third eye or whatever opening up there is awesome. And really accentuating all of the spiky details of his body is awesome. Mega Gengar is kind of awesome. Number 15 is Mega Kangaskhan. It always bothered me that the baby it has, 1, isn't a separate Pokemon at all, and Kangaskhan are literally hatched with a baby in its pouch, and 2, literally cannot leave the pouch. It's in a prison. Now it can at least leave the pouch, which is a big step forward for one of the least thought through Pokemon in the entire franchise, and corrects a massive injustice. Number 14 is Aegislash. Okay, so Doublade has 2 swords, which turned out to be less practical than any of us thought would be, so now we have a pretty sweet looking shield, and we kept the second arm. Aegislash is awesome, and is some really great ghost design. Number 13 is Tyrantrum. Tyrant was a tiny T-Rex. This is just my favorite Digimon. Like, I'm pretty sure this is just Guilmon changed just enough to not get sued. So here you go. My absolute favorite Digimon is the same as my 13th favorite Pokemon in a game I rank in the bottom half of the Pokemon franchise. I'm not sure there's a character I like more in Pokemon than Izzy in Digimon, though. He's great. Number 12 is Trevenant. Phantump found the rest of its tree and is now kind of terrifying, as a ghost tree, should be. I don't know what else to say about Trevenant. It's a giant scary ghost tree, and that makes for a really cool Pokemon. Generation 6 is what made Ghost Pokemon officially my favorite type, and Trevenant is definitely a big part of that. Number 11 is Mega Absol. I always thought Absol looked alright, I guess, but it was always missing something, and I didn't know what. It turns out the answer is massive wings and a little more emo haircut. If I was fighting against an Absol and it sprouted giant angel wings, I'd think I might be on the wrong side of that fight. We're in the top 10. Number 10 is Mega Lucario. Remember the concept that Megas should be like Super Saiyans? Lucario has way more headbands now, a way cooler color palette, and looks like instead of wanting to spar with you, it wants to kill you! There's only one other Mega that I think looks Super Saiyan more than this, and it's for a really dumb reason. Number 9 is Mega Mawile. Mawile is dumb, and not in the good way. Mega Mawile is the most terrifying thing Pokemon has ever done, and looks right at home in Courage the Cowardly Dog. Holy shit, it's terrifying. Number 8 is Mega Banette. The regular Banette always had these zippers, which is a funny little design, but they never do anything with them, which is lame. Now we see why. Also, actually kind of scary, but in a cool way. Plus, the first time I beat Pokemon Y, Banette was kind of an all-star on my team, so Mega Banette holds a special place for me. Number 7 is Yveltal. I picked Pokemon Y over Pokemon X for the same reason I pick almost any Pokemon game over its other option. I thought the cover looked cooler. Xerneas may have an X on its head, but Yveltal is a gigantic Y of death. It's got 3 hands. It's got a great color palette. It's going to kill you. Its name is vaguely awesome. Number 6 is Mega Ampharos, the most Super Saiyan Mega Evolution, because hair. That's really the only reason it's up here. It ran with the Super Saiyan idea more than literally anything else imaginable. It not only put hair where there was none, but so much of it. Just look at all of those flowing locks. Number 5 is Pumpkaboo. Amidst all of these crazy, powerful megas and the things above this spot, there's the smallest little ghost Pokemon in this entire generation. It's a tiny little pumpkin, it doesn't have arms, it's got little stubs for legs. I mentioned that this generation is what made me really fall in love with ghost Pokemon, and Pumpkaboo sealed the deal. If we're ranking all ghost Pokemon throughout the entire franchise, this is easily top 5 for me, probably top 3. Number 4 is Mega Charizard X. While Mega Charizard Y is pretty much just Charizard again, X really steps it up. Very cool color palette, awesome flame effects, sweet wings, really strange shoulder thingies. The idea that Mega Evolving gave it hotter fire, thus the blue flames, is really fitting and definitely a Super Saiyan idea. Number 3 is Mega Alakazam. What's better than 2 spoons? 5 spoons. Plus, giant sage wizard beard, and we're floating now. The ultimate psychic user, it's literally my favorite psychic Pokemon, and by a lot. Number 2 is Greninja. It's a water frog ninja. I repeat, it's a water frog ninja. Its giant frog tongue wraps around its neck like a big scarf. It throws water shuriken. It makes tons of weapons out of water, not just the shuriken. It's fast. It's awesome. I mean, come on. Water frog ninja. Okay, Greninja is awesome, but that leaves just one more Pokemon, and you can probably figure it out if you've been paying attention. My favorite Pokemon from Generation 6 is Sylveon. This is the last evolution we've gotten, and it's a very good one. The game introduced Fairy Pokemon, which is a type I quite like, and they got it right immediately. Visually, I think this is the perfect Fairy Pokemon. It's not my favorite Fairy Pokemon, but I'll expand on that idea later in the year. I love evolutions, and it's been 3 generations, that's over 10 years since we've gotten another one. Part of me thinks the reason for that is because Sylveon was done so well, they've been afraid to try to top it. Overall, I like a lot of the Pokemon in Generation 6, and while there's definitely a good chunk that are kind of boring or forgettable, a lot of the Mega Evolutions are really cool, and the entirely new Pokemon that I do like, I really like. I hope you've enjoyed getting the whole breakdown of all of the new Pokemon from X and Y. If you stayed to the end and watched all of it, congratulations, you probably care too much about what I think, and you're awesome for that. I'll see you tomorrow, as I do every single day for the entire year.